crank it up, let it roll. Stars and stripes in my soul. Steel toes on, boots in the gravel. Heartland truth on every channel. Open Bible, flag on the wall. We say what we believe when we don't talk it all. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the beltway. We won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raise hell. We back the bad, we guard the border. We love our guns and law and order. They try to shame every word we say, but we don't bow down, we just press play. This is red, white, and raise hell. Cowboy hat, church bell can't scare us into silence. We were born to rebel from the back road to the bell. Hey, we won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raise hell. You can cancel the show, but not the crowd. We're still here, still talking loud. Hand of the free on every spell. Hit that mic, host, let the truth ring out. This is red, white, and raised hell. Cowboy hat, church bell can't scare us into silence. We were born to rail from the back road to the beltway. We won't fade, we won't fail. Proud, loud, standing tall. Red, white, and raised hell.
All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome in. It is Strictly Speaking Unfiltered on a Friday. And what do we like to call Fridays? Free for all Fridays. You bring the questions to the chat. I will endeavor to answer any and everything. Whatever your topic is, whatever it is that's got you fired up today, let's make that happen. That's what it's all about. A lot to do today. I am still obsessed with the Carmelo Anthony case, not because of the killing anymore, not because of the verdict, not because of the sentence, but because of the absolute savages out there in, the online world and in the real world who are attacking white people for being white. And Austin Metcalf, who of course was a white victim, is all the reason that they need. A black youth stabbed a white youth and killed him and then got held accountable for it to the smallest extent of the law possible. Only a 17-and-a-half-year guaranteed sentence since he's up for parole in 17-and-a-half years for murdering a 17-year-old. And because that black attacker has been held accountable to that small degree, it is setting off a war on white people, even another level of it. It is something that we cannot ignore and pretend isn't there. Austin Metcalf's father went off, is going off, now freed from the shackles of a gag order in the court, is allowed to go out there and say what needs to be said. I've got a lot to say and a lot to share and a lot of video and audio to share with you about that case and where it stands right now. Also, at the top of the second hour, we're going to talk to State Senator Al Cutrona, who is one of the real champions of trying to protect and preserve election integrity, or maybe to create for the first time true election integrity in the state of Ohio. Senator Cutrona voted against the Senate resolution to get the photo identification law enshrined into the Ohio Constitution by way of the November ballot. He voted against it not because he doesn't believe in photo ID, but because he believes in photo ID for every voter, not just those in person, but those voting on by mail, through absentee purposes or absentee means, I guess I should say, should have to be held to the same standard. It's something that Marcel Sturbridge has talked about, Representative Ron Ferguson. There are a whole lot of people pushing back against this mistaken, I guess. I don't want to call it, it's not as if it was intentional. I don't think anyway. I certainly know President Trump wasn't intending to say we shouldn't have all votes that are counted be verified by photo identification. But he did send out a Truth Social post saying, hey, let's get this passed because it looks good on its face. It's not as great as it should be. And Al Cutrona is fighting that. And we're going to talk to him. And also Marcel Sturbridge says maybe we should think about vetoing, asking Mike DeWine to veto the resolution that just passed until it can be fixed with that language. So Senator Cutrona is going to join me at 8 o'clock. It'll be a really important conversation there. So a lot to do today. As you can see, that's what the subject of the graphic is that I have on the screen right now. Are Republicans protecting Ohio elections with that resolution to go into the Constitution, into the November election to be a constitutional amendment, or are they weakening Ohio's elections because they may not be doing everything that they could be doing? So Al Cutrona will be joining me. Hey, I want to start this morning. First of all, welcome to the chatters. I just got a new alert, by the way, on the chat. Not on the chat, actually, but just when I logged into the platform this morning, that tells me I can now save the chat from all episodes, which is very, very cool. Because as you know, when I'm doing my thing and doing interviews and commentary and playing videos and whatever, I can't read the chat. And I try to go back and catch up later, but I just don't have the time at that moment. But now I can save it according to the new one of the new whatever you want to call it, features. I can actually save the chat, which is all kind of cool. So I can go back and look at it at my leisure later on and then respond to some things and maybe flag some things that I want to talk about on a future show from some of those comments on the chat. So in other words, that's my way of saying if you're already in the chat, great, and that's awesome. And if you really want to have more of an impact and make sure that I see some of the things that you're chatting about, please know that it's there. And if you are not part of the chat yet, if you're watching this on replay and you want to be in there conversing with the other patriots who are part of this thing, please consider doing so. Just watch the live stream from 7 to 9 a.m. This is when we roll. If you're watching this any other time of day, thank you for watching. Make sure you still hit the thumbs up. Make sure you hit the bell, the notification bell, and so forth. But think about joining the live chat so you can be in it, and I will address some of the things going on in said live chat in future shows now that I know it's there and savable. So that's very cool. I want to start on this Free-for-All Friday morning. By the way, 12th morning of the month of in the year of our Lord 2026. Last night, I had a really, really great time talking to the folks at the Avon Lake Republican Club meeting in Avon. And what a great group of patriots there, honestly. And I really enjoyed that. I talked about yesterday. I talked about Wednesday night's conversation with the good folks of Parma in the Parma GOP. I had really, really great conversations both nights with these clubs. And I just wanted to touch on a couple of things. First of all, I called it the month of in person as well. And what I actually did is I addressed the month of as Nuclear Family Month, which of course it is in Tennessee and it is in Indiana. It is not here because we don't have that good of a governor. We have Mike DeWine. But in those places, the governors have declared it to be National Nuclear Family Month. And I started the conversation there last night with the Avon Lake Republican Club. And they were tremendously receptive of the message because what we're talking about here is a fight for the survival of the country that is going to come to a head in November. And a fight for, quite frankly, victory of good over evil. And I don't take that lightly. I don't say that lightly, but it is a matter of good versus evil. And, what they're doing to our kids. Yeah, look at that. Thanks, Dylan. Dylan just dropped that up there. That's what happened last night. It was a great conversation. Thank you to the entire crew there. Now Vice Chair Tommy Patton invited me to be a part of this thing, which I've talked to that group, I want to say about 4 or 5 different times now, maybe. but last year and this year for sure. And really appreciate the opportunity to talk to those great patriots in Avon Lake. But the good versus evil theme was what I talked about for the majority of my speech last night. And guess what? It is still the theme this morning because of what is going on with respect to that Carmelo Anthony case. It's not the trial. It's not the verdict. It's not the sentence. Now it is the war on white people that is being declared by black activists. I'm sorry to call it that way. It is what it is. And we're going to talk about that in some depth. By the way, you may be wondering, all right, Bob, well, yeah, you want to talk about all of that, but what about the fact that President Trump said the war is about to end? He's about to sign a peace deal with the Iranians. I will simply refer to a meme. I don't have this to put on the screen for you, but I saw it last night, and I will refer you to a meme by the Babylon Bee that I think pretty much summarizes my feelings on this. I wonder if I can actually just pull this up on my phone and show it to you real quick because I don't have it any other places. Maybe I can. I'm going to put this really up close in front of the camera and see if you can see it. Okay. See if you can see that at all. Is that coming up? I think you can see it maybe, right? That's my feeling on it. Trump sets new world record by winning war with Iran 27 times in 1 year. Can you see that okay? Yeah, I think you can. It's working. How about that? High tech right here on Strictly Speaking Unfiltered, holding cell phones up in front of cameras. But that's my feeling on it. I am tired of the whiplash. I have been told countless times in the last 2 months that the war is just about, look at that. Thank you, Dylan. That the war is just about over. We've got an agreement in place. The Iranians are desperate to make a deal. They want to make a deal. We're going to come to the table and make a deal. We're going to come to, yesterday, he was supposed to light up Tehran and, again, some of the important military targets in Iran. He canceled the bombing run, he said, because they have now signaled they're ready to come to the table for a deal. Really? I'm sorry if I'm not buying it. I've got two headlines. In fact, I even posted this yesterday and then took it down. This was late last night because I didn't have time to get all of the commentary I wanted on it. But there were two Breitbart headlines that both could not be true. And one of them was, that there's a deal in place. President Trump said Vice President Vance is going to be going over to Europe someplace and signing this peace agreement, and they won't allow nuclear, and they'll open up the Strait of Hormuz and all of the stuff that we wanted to be guaranteed was going to be in it. And then there was a second headline that basically said Iranians. Oh, here, okay. The headline from here they are. Look, they're back to back on Breitbart right now. I don't know if I can share this real quick, but it doesn't matter. I'll just read them to you. Trump cancels strike, says Iran deal approved by all parties involved. And then underneath that is a headline on Breitbart that says Hormuz update. Iran claims to halt shipping again. U.S. says strait open for transit. Both of those two things can't be true. The Iranians can't continue to be flexing and saying, yeah, we're still blocking your stuff. We're in charge of the strait still. And President Trump saying Iran has agreed to a deal. I'm sorry, all of the whiplash that has been going on, I'm just tired of. I really am. I want to win the war. Here's another headline from Breitbart. U.S. military was 3 hours from Iran strike before Trump announced deal breakthrough. Yeah, I'll believe the deal when I see the deal. And I'll be excited about the deal when I see that the deal is being honored. You want to know how far I trust the Iranians to honor any kind of a no nuclear weapons program deal? Want to know how much I trust them? About as far as I can go outside and pick up my neighbor's swimming pool and throw it. I'm sorry. I have no faith that any deal is going to be honored whatsoever. This is not going to be what we want it to be. I'm just going to leave it at that for now. If and when I am proven wrong, and I want to be proven wrong, you know what I would love? I would love for President Trump to have struck a deal with the Iranians that does not give them any money, don't unfreeze any of their assets like Obama did, don't send them cash, Don't give them reparations for damages done in this bombing campaign. Make sure that you do seize all of their nuclear material as promised. Remember, President Trump said 2-3 weeks ago as part of the whiplash, no dust, no deal. All of the quote-unquote nuclear dust that Claire Lopez says is nuclear gas must be obtained, acquired, and removed from the Iranians. If you can make that happen, and no funding for terrorist proxies like Hezbollah and Hamas and Boko Haram and the Houthis and the rest of them, you can make, and then the free opening of the Strait of Hormuz with no tolls, and the Iranians don't get to run it. You make all of those things happen, President Trump, I will be like, man, that is exactly what I voted for. But I don't, and then, oh, by the way, not only must the deal say all of those things, but then actually have the Iranians honor it for longer than a month or 2 months. You make all of that happen, I will eat my words. But right now, I have been given no reason whatsoever to believe in everything that is being promised, because we've been promised we're on the verge of a deal now for 2 solid months. That Babylon Bee headline was real. I say it was real. I mean, it was right. It was accurate. Okay. So I wanted to get that out there first, because that's obviously of great importance here. So is this. Like I said, I am obsessed with what is happening as a result of the Carmelo Anthony trial. And I'm not going to be quiet about this. I'm going to continue to point out the reality. And you know what? Even before the verdict, even before the sentence, even before all of this is going on, I wrote a piece in my my Sunday morning briefing, which you should subscribe to, Strictly Speaking Unfiltered. Yeah, let's throw that up there. I just want to continue to do this. If you are not yet a subscriber to Strictly Speaking Unfiltered, I'm sorry, Strictly Speaking This Week, which is the Sunday morning newsletter, there's the code. See that QR code? Scan that and subscribe. All you have to do is put your email address in. You're in. It's free. Not going to give away any information, and I'm not going to sell your email address to some other groups that put out newsletters or anything else. Okay, this is just between us. You want to read my thoughts and my analysis and my information that I want to share each and every week, have to come into your inbox on Sunday mornings, and occasionally during the week I'll send a few other important notes out as well. You want my briefings? By all means, it's free. Scan that code and put your name in. Your name and your email address, I should say, and you'll be golden. All right. So I wrote last week about this, the war on whites and the war on whiteness, and I gave a few different examples of it. And now we are starting to see more and more of those things play out because of what happened in this trial. So what I want to do is I want to start with Dylan. I guess we're going to go number one because Austin, if anybody deserves to be heard right now, it's a man who was subject to a gag order for the duration of the investigation, all of the hearings, the trial, the impact statements, the sentencing hearing, and everything else. The father of the victim, Jeff Metcalf, he has been silenced by a gag order from the judge for all of this time. Now that the case is over, the gag order lifts. And finally, he is, I said this yesterday to an extent, he's like that caged lion that is just clawing at the bars waiting, and suddenly, whoom, that gate is lifted and here he comes. That is exactly what he is doing. That is exactly what he has the right to do. He has not been allowed to be heard during this trial and during this period of time, and he wants to be heard now. So Austin Metcalf's father, Jeff Metcalf, here, this is a TikTok. It's in a number of different places, but I want you to listen. This is Austin Metcalf's father giving his thoughts on everything that the Anthony family has done, not just Carmelo for killing his son. You got to let those words marinate for a moment. Not just Carmelo for killing his son. I ponder these kinds of things, and I just, you try to put yourself into the position. Think of your son. Or if it was your daughter, your child is murdered in cold blood in such a way. Just that element alone. We have to try to give a little bit of empathy to put ourselves in the shoes of the individual about what they must be going through. He had to endure that first, and then he had to endure court-ordered silence about everything as the money started to pile up. 200,000, 300,000, 400,000, 500,000, 600,000 plus dollars to the Carmelo Anthony family getting rich off of their savage son murdering, a track opponent for no reason at all. Imagine, and watching all of that, seeing them in their nice cars, seeing in the gated community home that they moved into as their son lay dead. Can't imagine.
It's very, very.
Not yet, Dylan. Not yet, Dylan. Thank you. But you understand the point. So he hasn't been able to speak. Now that the gag order is lifted because the case is over, he has decided he is going to speak, and we are going to listen. Dylan, fire away.
In court, but I can speak freely now because the gag order is lifted. Tiffany Billions, Wackadoo, McAdoo, whatever her last name is, I'm not going to throw insults at you because I'm not going to lower myself to your level. But you're despicable. Drew Anthony, Kayla, you're cowards. You wouldn't even show up for your son's sentencing or victim statement impacts. You abandoned your kid. You left him there. I guess he's no more use to you because you can't get any more GoFundMe money or GoSend money. You are grifters. You should be ashamed of yourself. You raised that child, and I swear to God, CPS for sure check on those other 3 that you still have. You never once admitted or took accountability. You tried to play victim. The real victim is the one who died, not the one who shoved a knife in his chest. I come to pray with you and show the world we can close the gap of this unbelievable racial divide. And what'd you do? You widen the gap even further. You hire a convicted, baby-shaking felon who's only in it for the money, who gives you bad advice, kicks me out of a press conference. Oh, funny, I was somewhere I wasn't supposed to be, but I left. When asked, I didn't stab anyone. And then you proceeded to gaslight me with your convicted felon, quote, advocate? Minister? Minister of what? Minister irrelevant? Minister of bullshit? How about Minister fuck you? Y'all think I'm a saint? I'm no saint. I'm as human as you. I have emotions. Just because I'm a Christian doesn't mean I don't sin, because I don't walk on water and I don't turn into wine. I couldn't speak about this in court.
Yeah, I got it. I got it. I'm muted. I'm sorry. I apologize. It's okay. I did mute myself to clear my throat a couple of times while we watched that video of Austin Metcalf's father, Jeff Metcalf. My apologies. I was still muted there. Thanks, Dylan. So what I said was at the end of that, and I want to be clear, is the reality of our world now is that we don't know what's real and what isn't sometimes until later, until after the fact. When I first saw that last night, the Jeff Metcalf video that you just saw portions of, and there's more than that. And some of it is a lot more aggressive in his language. And I told my son when he showed that to me, I said, that's probably AI. And that's the reality we live in. We have to try to figure out. There are apps that you can use basically to put anybody's face out there and then make it talk and then feed the language into it by text. And what you want him to say. You know, I had President Trump introducing my show and saying what a great show it was one time when I made one of those AI things. So the point is, we don't know what's real and what isn't sometimes because of the world we're in right now, the technological world we're in right now. But my son told me this morning it has been verified, and that statement you just heard portions of, that kind of angry rant by Austin Metcalf's father, that is real and that is legitimate, and so are some of the other things that he said, like I said, which are a bit more aggressive. So, point being, Austin Metcalf's father has a reason to be furious. He has a reason to be able to want to say those things after what was done to his son and the way the Anthony family has behaved during all of this. And now let's take it to the next level. Why else would Jeff Metcalf be very, very upset? Why else would he want to be saying the things that he did in that video? Because of things like this. Dylan, pull up clip number 2, please. Pull up slide number 2, I guess it is in this particular case, or link number 2, because I want to show everybody what they are dealing with. There it is. Austin Metcalf's family hit with death threats as Carmelo Anthony supporters face violence allegations. Holy goodness. I mean, what more do we need to know and say? This family has already been victimized by the death threats. Carmelo Anthony issued a death threat to Austin Metcalf and said, touch me and see what happens, as he clutched the big knife, or not big knife, but the very, very dangerous knife. I've seen video of it, by the way. It's a lot more severe than it is made to appear, I think, in mainstream media. They're trying to make it seem like it was a little folding pocket knife. No, it's a significant weapon. But anyway, while he clutched that knife, ready to plunge it into somebody's chest, whoever approached him and tried to get him to leave that tent where he was not supposed to be, that was a death threat. And then it was carried out. But that's not good enough. Now Carmelo Anthony supporters have to carry out these death threats or make these death threats. God forbid they carry them out against Austin Metcalf's family. Quoting from the article here, supporters of Carmelo Anthony now are allegedly turning to violence. Not allegedly, are. Following his murder conviction, while family members of Austin Metcalf have been receiving death threats following the verdict. And I won't go through the details again, you know those, but scrolling down a little bit, reports have circulated of Anthony supporters threatening violence. In one recent video posted on X, apparently by a user from Jacksonville, Florida, someone riding a bike appears to assault a man. The video was taken from the rider's vantage point, and that is accurate, and I believe we have that one. I think we have that one. Yeah, number 5, Dylan. Pull up number 5. There's an article about that, and then I want to play that video of the actual attack that occurred there. Okay, so you're going to see this one. Yeah, this is from Gateway. Black woman in Florida films herself. That's not right. Punching random white man while ranting that he was on the Carmelo Anthony. Okay, this is the second one. This isn't the first one because this one is a woman, but this is the second one. The first one was a man. Let's go ahead and scroll down and play that video contained in this link, Dylan. I want people to see exactly what we're talking about here. Go ahead and play that. This is, again, part of the war on whites that we're told doesn't exist. Black people wanting to attack random white people because Carmelo Anthony was sentenced to prison for killing a white kid. Go ahead, Dylan.
Hey, bro. Weren't you on motherfucking jury selection?
Motherfucking bitch.
Weren't you on jury selection?
No, I wasn't.
Yes, you was.
No, I wasn't.
Yes, you was.
No, I wasn't.
Yes, you was.
No, I wasn't.
Yes, the hell you was.
I've never been on jury selection. Get out of here, you fat fucking black bitch.
Okay. That one was more mild. Believe it or not, yeah, that one was more mild. That wasn't the first one that I was looking for. I was looking for the first one, and I don't know if I have that one for Dylan to play there, but it was the first one of an individual, was a male on a bicycle, rode up to basically a homeless veteran, what turned out to be a veteran, and punched him in the face and said the same thing. Hey, you were on jury selection. First of all, do these freaking idiots even understand what they are saying? What does that mean? You were in jury selection. Does that mean you were in the jury pool? Or you were on the jury? First of all, the jury members who just served on that jury are not probably going to be sitting like a homeless person on a street corner in a lawn chair for you to come up and take shots at. Chances are very good that's not going to be somebody that was on the jury or, quote, in jury selection. I don't think they understand what the flying hell they're talking about because they're stupid. They're just very, 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 as President Trump would say, low IQ people, dumb people would attack somebody like that. That's point number one. Point number two is they don't care that they weren't, quote, part of jury selection or on the jury. It was a white person that had to pay the price for Austin Metcalf's killer being sent to jail. Attacks on white people. Dylan, I don't know if you can find that first one. Do you? Oh, I think you did. Cue that one up, Dylan. Okay, this is the first one. This is more egregious. Go ahead and play that.
Hey, wasn't you on jury selection?
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. Seriously. No, he wasn't. He wasn't.
He was on jury selection.
What the flying hell does that mean? He was on jury selection. I cannot stand the stupidity of these angry radicals, race baiting, white hating warriors. They're out there to commit, to start a war. I cannot stand the stupidity of it. Weren't you on jury selection? If somebody got literally called to, quote unquote, jury selection to be a part of the process that they whittled down to the 12 jurors and then the alternates, they didn't do anything wrong. They're not even saying what they want to say is, weren't you on the jury, is what they want to say. And of course they know they're not, but it's a white guy and I've got a camera and I can punch him to get cred and clout in my black community for attacking this white man because Carmelo Anthony is going to prison. That's what it's all about. That's what the whole thing is about. And I think that America is in a very precarious place, and I think people are tired of this nonsense. I think people are ready to say, look, if you really want to bring it on and you want to have some sort of a civil war, some sort of a race war, okay, but just so you know that there is an FO after the FA. Just be aware of that. You probably don't want to do this. And I will tell you right now, I don't want to do this. We don't want to do this. You should not want to do this. We were a better country, literally, until about 2009, when things started to go off the rails. I've talked about this in speeches, and I'll talk about it right now again as well. This country had a fairly solid view of race relations, both races, both primary, predominant races. This is not to discount Hispanics or Asians or any other ethnicities that are among the smaller percentages of the population, but blacks and whites. Prior to 2009, there was a fairly solid, according to surveys, view of race relations. Black people in the country didn't have any great animus toward white people anymore. White people didn't have any great problem with black people. Race relations were considered to be overall very solid. Then Barack Obama came in. Barack Obama came in immediately playing race games, starting the race baiting, talking about the black Harvard professor being mistreated by cops who were trying to investigate the break-in into the guy's house. Then the Trayvon Martin. Trayvon could have looked just like my son. Hey, Barack, I'm waiting for this. How about if your non-existent son had stabbed somebody to death and been sent to prison? Might your son have looked like Carmelo Anthony too? Barack Obama spent 8 years worsening race relations in this country, creating a divide, creating a bitterness, creating an anger, calling for and pushing for reparations, and so many other things that set the table for what would become Black Lives Matter. He did that. After Barack Obama left office, race relations, that solid number, and I don't have the numbers from Pew and some of the other research polls that were tracking these things, but they were significantly lower. The number of people who felt like that race in the country was in a good place, or the race relationship and so forth was in a good place. I mean, we're talking about some of the lowest numbers since before the Civil Rights Act. All right. So yeah, there are some people who can absolutely intentionally drive race relations down and thus create the racial animus and the violence and some of the stuff that we're talking about right now. Let me give you some other examples here. Dylan, fire up number 3, if you would, please. I want to bring this up. Link number 3, these are some disturbing things, especially when you consider not just that these things exist, but who these people are. Go ahead and bring that up, Dylan, please. This is, I don't know if you can zoom that at all, Jen Lima, a school board member at North Kingstown School Department in Rhode Island, sharing a letter to Austin Metcalf's dad, blaming him, Jeff Metcalf, for his own son's murder because he, quote, failed to teach him that Black boys have boundaries. I'm going to let that sink in a little bit. Like I said, sometimes you just have to let certain words and phrases and sentences marinate a little bit. Austin Metcalf's dad is to blame because he didn't teach Austin that Black boys have boundaries and you can't cross a Black boy's boundary or else. And by the way, the Black boy reference, which can be racially hostile in some circumstances, and some people might get triggered by me just reading that, that's what this individual said, that Black boys have boundaries. I can't begin. Go ahead, Dylan, zoom that up there. I don't know if there's the text that of her, of this Jen person, of what she actually wrote, Jennifer, what is it, O'Connor Lima? Yeah, Jennifer O'Connor Lima. I guess just that. I thought there was a longer post attached to it. Okay, no, the longer post was Stacy Patton writing about it. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Your son is dead because you failed to teach him that Black boys have boundaries. I'm not even going to pretend to know what that means. I just can't do that. But the suggestion is white people tread lightly around Black males because they've got boundaries. And if you cross those boundaries and you trigger them, what's going to happen to you is your fault. All right. Are we clear on what that message is? That, by the way, was a school board member. A school board member, according to the report there, according to that post, saying, if a Black boy attacks you, again, her wording, if a Black boy attacks you, if a Black boy kills you, it's because you crossed one of their Black boy boundaries. And if your father didn't teach you that, then it's his fault you're dead. And it's your fault that you got attacked. Let those words marinate. Or let your brain marinate in them. Go to number 4, Dylan, if you would, please. This one is almost as outrageous, maybe more. I don't know. Maybe it's more egregious, actually. It just depends, I guess, on your point of view. Because the first one was a school board member. This one, and I think Libs of TikTok, who does such great uncovering of so many of these types of things, reports on this appropriately, saying this woman claims to be on the Board of Pardons and Parole in Texas, claims to be. There's no verification of that. Chances are, actually, I would like to think highly unlikely that a person on the actual Board of Pardons and Parole would post something like this, because it would indicate a clear bias in their job and probably cost them their job, right? I mean, I would hope this is fake. I really, really do. But here's what it is. Donna Murray Robinson, claiming to be Board of Pardons and Parole in Huntsville, Texas. Quote, Trinia Howard, you are exactly right. I am a parole. I don't know what Trinia Howard wrote, but you can presume from the context here that they wrote something about how Carmelo is going to be, okay in prison because he's got a lot of money. They're sending a lot of money to his commissary and things of that, just like they did with the GoFundMe and Give Send Go. So the rest of it, you are exactly right. I'm a parole supervisor at Texas DCJ. I'm assuming that's Department of Corrections. I don't know the J part. Carmelo will be okay. I can almost assure you, he will be protected on the inside. I, for one, don't give an F about the family's loss. It's about time these effing bigots feel the pain that they have inflicted on other groups of people since the beginning of time. I'm just glad we didn't have to bury another black child. Let them start burying some of theirs for a change. F them. I said what I said. Marination now. I'm just glad we didn't have to bury another black child. They didn't give a rip about Austin Metcalf's family burying their child. In fact, she said they should. They should. Let them bury some of theirs for a change. F them, I said what I said. I suppose it's lost on this particular person, if she is indeed this Texas Board of Pardons and Paroles worker that she says she is. I suppose it's lost on her that it is very, very tragic to have to bury a black child. But knowing that black children or black people who are buried because they're victims of violent crimes, because of homicides, they're being buried not because of Jeff Metcalf or Austin Metcalf or police or white people in general. They're being buried because of other black people. Overwhelmingly black males, overwhelmingly younger black males. That's not Austin Metcalf's fault. That's not Jeff Metcalf's fault. That's not the Texas judge's fault. That's not the jury's fault. That's not my fault. That is the fault of the culture in your own community that has people killing one another in extraordinary rates. And yes, I've talked about this before. I feel compelled to remind everybody that we know the realities of intra-racial crime. In white America, it's the same way in terms of if a white person is murdered, the likelihood is extraordinarily high, over 80%, that they were murdered by a white person. So this isn't breaking news that white people kill more white people and black people kill more black people, but it's the volume of killings. The volume of them. Over 90% of the killings in black communities are from black on black. And those account for more than 50% of the homicides in the country, despite the black population being 13%. It's the volume. I'm just telling you the way that it is. I'm trying to bring you truth here, especially as the attacks on white people are ramped up. Okay, so we did number 5. Let's pull up number 6. This will be the last one I want to play on, or I want to share on this particular issue for this morning. Dylan, pull up number 6, because this is one of those ones that might just kind of make you do a little double take. All of that money that was raised for Carmelo Anthony during the year and a half or so between the murder and the sentence, over $660-some thousand. Carmelo Anthony and his defense team now claim that he's straight up broke. Can't even afford the money that it will cost to file an appeal, to hire an appellate lawyer, despite, $625,000. I said 660. Well, maybe it's up over that because they started raising a whole lot more after the verdict, after the conviction. More people said, hey, that's still our guy. Melo's still my man. He killed a white kid. Here's a check. That happened. But now, despite all of those checks, there's no money for an appellate attorney. I'm wondering if maybe they might want to think about selling one of the luxury cars that they bought with the GoFundMe money or the Give Send Go money that was raised over the last year and a half. I wonder if maybe they want to sell or get out of the gated community home that they moved into so they could live lavishly while this investigative process and the trial began over the course of that year and a half. Maybe they want to get out of that and move into a place that's a little bit more affordable so they can have a few thousand left over to hire an attorney to try to help get their kid out of the prison cell that he himself checked into when he murdered Austin Metcalf. How about that? Scroll that just a little bit there, if you would, Dylan, just so we can kind of read a bit of what the story highlights. Carmelo Anthony, the teen convicted this week of murdering a fellow student in Texas, says he is broke and does not have enough money to hire a lawyer for his appeal. The 19-year-old convicted killer made the claim in court documents for his appeal filed after he was convicted and sentenced to 35 years for murdering 17-year-old football player Austin Metcalf. In this filing, Anthony describes himself as, quote, a penniless, destitute, and indigent person, too poor to employ counsel to represent me on the appeal. And clearly somebody wrote that for him, because if he can spell destitute, I'd be shocked. Carmelo Anthony claim. Okay, there's just a clip of that from Brianna Morello. Scrolling down to the article, the teen's attorney, Mike Howard, said his defense has several important issues for the appellate courts to consider, and appeal is the next part of the legal process and a right afforded every American. Of course it is. The convict's claim of destitution, though, is hard to square with the hundreds of thousands his family raised in his name ahead of his trial. The fundraiser says the donations would go for Anthony's legal fees, but it also claimed a portion would be used for the family's living and security expenses. Guess what? Austin Metcalf's family and friends and supporters aren't threatening the Anthony family. What do they need security for? Instead, it's the grieving Metcalf family that continues to face death threats from Carmelo Anthony's supporters. Who's paying for their security? Did they start a GoFundMe? Anthony's mother, Kayla Hayes, told donors what they intended to do with the cash, saying this fundraiser was established to provide comprehensive assistance to the Anthony family as they navigate the many challenges surrounding Carmelo's case. Maybe she misspoke there. Maybe what she meant to say was not to navigate the many challenges, but what she meant to say was, we're buying a navigator. Yeah, the family living large. A navigator for one, a Lexus for the other. Gated community, big house, all of that happened as Austin Metcalf's family was burying their son. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. I feel no sympathy whatsoever, although I did pull a little bit of a fast one yesterday on Facebook. Dylan, if you want to pull up my either on Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or YouTube or whatever, I posted a video yesterday, one of the Bob France road rants, after the show, as a matter of fact, as I headed off to job number 2 yesterday. I just felt like I needed to kind of make a point in a different kind of way. So Dylan, if you can pull that up, let me know when you have it. But I wanted to speak on the family and and to maybe provide a little bit of support for and a little bit of compassion for and throw a little grace to the family in the Carmelo Anthony situation. And like I said, I wanted to make sure that it hit home, and it did, because it's taken off quite a bit. Dylan, are you able to get her? Do you want me to grab it? Just let me know. It's just on my Facebook page. It should be on both of my Facebook pages, as well as the Strictly Speaking YouTube page and so on and so forth. But if you want, I can probably pull it up just as quick. Just let me know what you want.
Go ahead and grab it. Yeah, TikTok's not being reasonable.
Yeah, well, that's why I said didn't say TikTok first. I would have said Facebook first, but that's okay. I've got it up here on my Facebook page. So let me share it here on my side. And yeah, here we go. Let me see. Just because I just want you to experience it the way a whole lot of other people experienced it, and I really pissed some people off too. All right, I'm sorry it hasn't been added to the stage yet. Dylan, hook me up here, brother. Okay. There we go. I'll need everybody else to be able to see this, or else it's okay. Here we go.
That Carmelo Anthony case, people really need to lay off the family. I mean, seriously, they have a right to be upset. They have a right to be angry. I mean, it was an indefensible sentence There's no justification whatsoever. And they have a right to be mad. They have a right, but their supporters have a right to be mad as well. I mean, 35 years in a single stabbing incident like that, I understand. I can sympathize and I can empathize with that family. I'm not going to throw stones and I'm not going to be judgmental here. I think there should be far more compassion and sympathy shown for that family. The Metcalf family. 35 years when the number could have been and should have been 99. They have every right to be outraged, and so do their supporters. Show a little bit of grace and a little bit of compassion for the Metcalf family. Oh, and to the Anthony family, go straight to freaking hell, you bunch of murder-supporting grifters who stole hundreds of thousands of dollars and are living it up lavishly off the death of an innocent 17-year-old boy.
So that was something that I did yesterday. Like I said, I did I call them Bob France road rants. And I wanted to make a point. And rather than just a typical, hey, support the Metcalf family from the jump or condemn the Anthony family, that's everybody is doing that. But I wanted to make a point, and it hit. It really did. If you were to scroll some of the comments, particularly on TikTok and on Instagram, where I posted that, how many people were just giving me the business, just furious. What the hell is wrong with you? Blah, blah, blah. And then other people underneath it saying, you didn't watch the whole video, did you? Exactly. Because I wanted to set it up. There is a family that deserves grace and compassion. There is a family that deserves support. It's just that it was the wrong family that they were thinking of. The Metcalf family deserves our support. The Anthony family, everything Jeff Metcalf said about them is true. The mother, the father, the grandmother, horrible, horrible, awful people. For daring to essentially say that their son should not be held accountable for the murder of a 17-year-old young man named Austin Metcalf. They are horrible people. The grandmother went outside screaming after the trial to all of the chanters and the protesters, racist, bigot, or whatever, like 3 words over and over again, unfair trial and all of that garbage. They really, really are just awful human beings. They took some $600,000 from donations for their son's defense and spent it on cars and houses and other luxury items. And now they're claiming that he's destitute and needs to get a public defender to file his appeal of his case, for crying out loud. It's disgusting. And I wanted to make it memorable. And once people saw what I was trying to say there, everybody came back and said, oh, man, you got me. You got me. And you know what? Good, because that'll stick in your head a little bit more than if we had just done it the regular way. All right, want to take a moment here. It is 7:55. I want to take a moment to thank our friends and to remind you of your ability and opportunity to help our friends at AFP, Americans for Prosperity, Ohio, doing tremendous work to try to make the Buckeye State the best state it can be. And we can be better in economic opportunity, in educational freedom, in energy abundance, and by holding government accountable. That is what AFP is driven to do, and that's what they have laid out for you at BuckeyeBlueprint.com. Please check the website out and look for opportunities to volunteer. Look for opportunities to join an AFP chapter near you. In fact, AFP was out there last night in Avon Lake, where I was giving the speech at the meeting last night, and Charles was there, and he told me that the Lorain County, which I'm kind of cool with because I'm a Lorain Countyan, the Lorain County AFP has the largest membership of all the chapters around the state, which is very, very cool, actually. And that means we can get some things done where I live, and hopefully you'll consider joining an AFP chapter near where you live. And I also want to remind you of this. The other reason that Charles was there last night at the meeting is because of our trip to Columbus coming up a week from this Monday. It's Monday the 22nd. We will be on the way to Columbus, and we have asked you to register to join us there. There's around 500 or 600 capacity at the event room in the Columbus Crew Stadium, where we're going to hold this celebration of America at 250. America 250, obviously is an extraordinary time for us to really commemorate 250 years of freedom and liberty and fighting for all that is good and virtuous through faith, family, and freedom, and all of the things that we believe in. We are going to celebrate that there, but we're also going to be talking about how to take, and this is what they call one small step. It's kind of the theme of the event that is hosted by AFP. Americans for Prosperity Ohio, as well as Concerned Veterans for America, and the Libre Institute, all teaming up to bring about 500 or 600 people from pretty much all over Ohio. Our Northeast Ohio contribution is going to be 54 people from Strongsville, or I'm not from Strongsville, but we're going to be departing Strongsville on a bus that I'll be on, leaving at 3 o'clock Monday the 22nd from Strongsville, arriving in Columbus around 5. The event's going to go from 5 to 8. Then we'll hop on that bus, and it won't look like that, I'm afraid, but it'll be a nice bus. But we're going to be rolling down there, and then we'll be rolling back. You should be back to your cars in Strongsville by 10 or so. So it'll be just a nice day trip down there to celebrate not only America at 250, but also, again, that one small step. One small step that was taken by so many great leaders to help us become what we are in this state and in this country. But what one small step we can take, you and I can take, to continue to make this state better and to make this country great, or make it even greater, to celebrate and prepare for the next 250 years. So it's going to be a great event. I've been asked to speak. Jack Windsor, our friend, is going to be able to be there to speak. We've got Kelly Williams Bowler is going to be there telling her story. We've got veterans. It's going to be a great, great event. So it's a social event. It's a celebratory event, but it's also a strategy event, so we can talk about what we have to do moving forward to set the table for the next 250. So point being this, you'll see this graphic that I'm putting on the screen right now. You'll see that on my Facebook page, both Strictly Speaking with Bob France and on the Bob France profile page. It's also on the locals page. If you are in the locals community off of Rumble, click the join button underneath the Rumble screen you're looking at right now, and you'll get this link there, or this graphic there. And what you'll see in it is, number one is the registration for the event. Click that link and put your name in. Number two is the reserve your seat on the bus joining us from Strongsville. Like I said, there's 54 seats. They're going fast. Get in right now. Don't have to drive down by yourself. Now, if you want to drive down, we want you to do that if you register, but it will be better if you are on the bus. We're going to have a great time. We'll talk. We'll have a good time getting ourselves ready for America 250. And then number three will be just watch for confirmation in your email that you're on the bus and that you're registered for the event, and you will come down with us and have a great time. So thank you to AFP, our friends and partners here on Strictly Unfiltered. All right. Let's move on now. I told you a little while ago about, and Dylan, if you could throw up on the screen for me, before we get to our guest who is in the green room, go ahead and throw up on the screen for me link number, let's go with link number 11, if you would, please. I want to throw that up there so we can kind of set the table a little bit. And let me know when you're ready to go, Dylan. There we go. Look at that. This was posted by OhioTruth.com, Ohio for Truth. Thank you to Senator Al Cutrona for having the courage to truly serve the people. And in what way is he serving the people? By voting against the vote to on the resolution to let the Ohio people in November decide if they want to enshrine in the Ohio Constitution photo identification. He voted against it. And you'd be wondering, what the hell is that about? Why is he against photo identification? Bob, why are you against photo identification? And the answer is, we're not. We are absolutely pro photo identification to cast votes in Ohio, but this particular resolution was missing something important. All right. And that's why Senator Cutrona was one of the loudest voices against it. And it's why he's here right now to tell us all about that now. So let's welcome State Senator Al Cutrona back to our program here. Senator, good morning. I appreciate it.
Good morning. Hey, thanks for having me here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you doing what you're doing, which is fighting a very important fight here to make sure that we have all votes accounted for in the state of Ohio and photo identification verified. Tell me what's going on and where things are with this resolution.
Yeah, so you hit the nail on the head right there. I mean, listen, we're all for having photo ID, but we want it across all forms of voting. The number one biggest issue that's out there is the mail-in side of voting. We want photo ID. SJR 10 was lacking that, essentially creating a loophole. I voted no, but my no vote was because I wanted to send a message to my colleagues in the House saying we have to do something to enshrine, we have to do something to protect our integrity, our election integrity, by having photo ID in our mail-in ballots. And so ultimately, the House passed SJR 10, but we were able to do what we were able to force the administrations to do in each chamber is say, we're going to pass something into the Ohio Revised Code, which we did on Wednesday, that will in fact place a requirement for photo ID for mail-in ballots. And so that was a separate piece of legislation, and that was House Bill 472. And so,
So,
yeah.
so if I may, this is what I was trying to avoid, because I've been talking about this for several days, and I know a lot of people in Ohio politics have as well. I was trying to avoid having to have another vote. We're making this so difficult, much more difficult than it has to be. It's hard enough to get things through the legislative process in the GA, to do it from one side or the other, and then, if there's some changes made, and then you got to go back again. And of course, now you guys are out of session. So is this the best way to do this, to pass, a resolution to put this on the ballot for the Constitution, and then come back later and say, okay, now we're going to add in mail-in? Why wasn't that included to start?
Honestly, I think it's a failed attempt. It was a half measure to rush something through. This is what happens when you rush policy. You leave things out, and you're absolutely right. Why are we wasting the legislators' time? Why are we wasting voters' time by not having a perfectly created, drafted constitutional amendment for the voters to vote on that would enshrine all areas that would include photo ID? That's the right way to do it. And unfortunately, this was a half-baked measure. And I think that they didn't quite realize that it was going to catch the backlash that it did. But they're not listening to Ohioans. They're not really listening to President Trump, who ultimately really wants to address the biggest issue, which is, photo ID on the mail-in side.
Senator, so you're framing it as an accident, basically. They didn't realize that it was only a half measure, and then they had to go back and correct it. Because I don't know if I'm happy with that, or if I'd be happier to think that no, they knew it, but they chose against it. I don't know if it's better to be sloppy and to not realize something, or to intentionally go the other direction. But you're saying that they just didn't realize that they were neglecting the mail-in balloting portion of this.
I would say this, and how it was presented to us was that it would be too difficult to place in the mail-in side of it. It would be too complicated to put that into the Constitution. I think that that's inaccurate. I think that's wrong. I think that we could have done it, and we could have done it very easily. We didn't have to get complicated. The Constitution of Ohio should not be a complicated measure. It should not be difficult. It shouldn't have a bunch of words that are trying to explain every nuance. You're supposed to put in there the fundamental rights that are out there. Fundamentally, it should just require photo ID, which could easily have been done. And then the Ohio Revised Code would have changed, which would dictate how that would look, right? Time, place, and manner is always left up to the state legislature for the elections. All this would have been protecting us against a tyrannical government, or if the radical left take over Ohio. We don't want to end up like Virginia, but we ultimately said, hey, we'll protect everything but the most vulnerable part, which is the mail-in side. So I can't really tell you why leadership did what they did. And I think ultimately they wanted to get something through quickly. The problem is when you speed through the process, you leave gaps. And this was clearly a gap. And perhaps they were concerned about vote getting. I'm not entirely sure. I wasn't in the conversations. This was a rush through process. And because it was rushed through, this tends to be, unfortunately, the way government works.
So one of the other elements of this that I think is extraordinarily important here, Senator Al Cutrona, is the number of exemptions to the voter identification requirement, or the photo identification requirement. Somebody sent me, it's one of your biggest supporters, former Secretary of State candidate Marcel Sturbridge, who has been lavish in his praise of you for standing up for this the way that you are and have been. And he sent me a list in the language of exemptions of people that people could have. And I'm reading through the list, and I'm thinking to myself, who in Ohio can't get an exemption to not have to show an ID? When you see the list, what does that mean? And is that already a part of what was passed? Or is that something that is going to be added? Where does that come in?
Sure. So we have two. We're talking about really two different things, right? We have SJR 10, right? Which, look, no one's opposed to having the protections in there for the photo ID portion for in person and enshrining that. That's great. We had to
No
do
one on our
something.
side is opposed to that. The Democrats are opposed to it.
Correct. Yes, that's
All of
right.
them.
That's right. That's right. That's right. That's
To be
good.
clear,
Thank you
yeah.
for pointing that out. Yes, that's right. And so to address the most vulnerable part, and that's when this House bill came into play, where we essentially hijack that, put this information or put this stuff in there so we can get the House to concur on our resolution. There are a variety of exceptions that are in there. And is it the most perfect, well written, and there's no chance for there to be exceptions? I mean, there's going to be exceptions that are going to be necessary. This is going to be a breathing document that we'll continue to revise as time goes on. And so I think it's definitely a step in the right direction. And we really take away a lot of the arguments that the left has put, which is this is going to make it harder for people to vote. This is going to be too difficult to get to show a copy of your photo ID. We laid it all out as to how and why, and it could apply. So there are some exceptions in there, some that are required by federal law, some that make sense, but ultimately it's a way to secure it as best that we can with the amount of time that we have. And I wouldn't doubt that in the next couple of general assemblies, we'll continue to critique it and strengthen it and make it a better piece of state policy.
I hope so. And to that end, Marcel, again, a supporter of yours, he suggested yesterday that he thinks the governor should veto this for all of the reasons that we're talking about. I'm going to read briefly did you see his tweet by chance? His post?
I haven't had the pleasure. I'm still catching up from our marathon session on Wednesday.
Okay. So just briefly, he did this last night. I think governor should veto it. Too many vague and unverifiable and unjustified exemptions, what I was just asking about, not to mention a nightmare for election administrators to track and my favorite excuse, unfunded mandate. Plus, he should stick to his word of not having to pass any further election legislation after SB 293. If Governor DeWine signs SB 472, he'll be opposing his original position when he passed HB 458 voter ID in 2022, having carved out an exemption for mail and absentee ballot voters from having to produce a photo ID. Not a good legacy move. We can revisit and pass 100% photo ID for all voting in 2027 with new leadership, Vivek, and new speaker, and some Republicans in the legislature discovering their backbone or getting primaried. For now, voter ID resolution should pass unanimously into the Constitution by the voter this November and will win and will easily. Your response to that?
I would say this. I love the direction where he's at, because I think we need people like him to continue to push the envelope to make sure that we have more secure elections. We got to have people that are willing to push against the grain, and so that we get it right. I mean, it's all about getting it right. I mean, that's the same reason for my no vote, to try to get things right. And so I think that at the end of the day, I want to have the most secure elections humanly possible. I think that having the photo ID portion, although I'm not going to sit there and say 472 is the perfect example of like every single detail that's imaginable in every scenario, but I think it is a step in the right direction. And I do think that there's an opportunity as we move forward as a legislative body from both the House and the Senate, getting true patriots into office. I think that's wonderful. I think as Vivek is our incoming governor, I think we're going to be light years ahead on getting true conservative measures done. And so I would tell people to continue to put pressure on your legislators to make sure they're making the right votes and informed votes. And so I don't disagree with some of the items that he put out there in the tweet. I mean, he wants to get it right. That's what we should be striving for, perfection.
Yeah, I completely agree. And there does seem to be, I don't know, a lack of conviction by some in leadership, quite frankly, to get all of these things done, bringing important votes to the floor for a vote, important legislation to the floor for votes, and so forth. And there does seem to be a bit of a growing, I don't want to call it a revolt against the speaker, but Speaker Huffman is not necessarily on the side of some of the true conservative legislation, whether it be, MAHA legislation or whether it be voter integrity legislation, things of that nature, that he just really seems to be less than enthusiastic about pushing out there and letting come to a vote of the representatives on the House side. Do you think that we need that new leadership before we can take all of the steps we need to take?
And one thing to add on to that, I mean, Freedom to Carry Act. I don't know if you've been following that or not.
It's a good one, yes.
I've introduced that into the Senate. I've had one hearing, and it's been introduced in the House. It's been, a piece of contention. I want to give a shout out to Representative Rose, and she's a true patriot out there. She tried to force the issue on the floor. We need people like that, but I don't want to speak out of turn because I'm in the Senate now, but I mean, I think that the House really needs to re-examine themselves and say, how are we going to push conservative legislation that is impactful and meaningful? And I can't sit there and say that we've been really doing that at this General Assembly. I mean, we've left a lot of really good policies. I'm also the carrier in the Senate on some really great MAHA issues. And so things have been getting stonewalled. They've been halted. And so I think that leadership needs to be re-examined in many lights, and I think members need to have serious conversations about how they're going to go ahead and continue to push the conservative movement forward. Because frankly, I don't think any of us, at least I didn't come down to Columbus just to waste time and vote on things that aren't going to be impactful. So I hope that they have a real kind of come to Jesus moment of what they're planning on doing coming into lame duck.
I really hope so too. It's a frustrating thing when you think about what we could be doing, Senator. And if you just want to make a closing comment on this, with the super majorities we have on the House side and the Senate side, and we have the governor's office, and maybe it's the wrong governor right now, but he's still an R. I know a lot of Ohio Republicans are frustrated. They look at some of the supermajorities, for example, in places like Florida, and they're cranking out tremendously popular legislation that conservatives believe in without any hesitation. And it seems like and I'm not casting aspersions on any individuals. Well, maybe I am, but certainly not you. We as Republicans in the state don't know how to wield power. We don't know how to use it. Either that, or maybe some of the Republicans have an ulterior motive or an alternative agenda from what they were sent to Columbus to do. Any thoughts on that?
I think sometimes we can't get it out of our own way. There's absolutely zero reason that what our House and Senate and executive branch looks like that we cannot push the conservative movement. There's zero excuse for that. And we need to do better at making sure that we're forcing the issue. I mean, we are leaving so much on the table, whether you're dealing with property tax issues, medical freedom issues, 2A issues, voter integrity issues. These are things that the people want. And I think sometimes Columbus is living in an echo chamber of the swamp, and they need to start going back to the people and listening to the people in their districts of what they actually want. And I think once we start doing that and start voting for the people and legislating for the people, that's when you're going to see the real results, because that's what Ohio wants. And there's zero excuse for not giving it to them.
I think that's well said. Senator Al Cutrona, I appreciate you fighting this. I appreciate you, wanting to make sure that Ohio's elections are completely fraud-proof, corruption-proof, and so forth. And we've taken some steps, but obviously there are still more that need to be taken. And I'm glad you're out there being one of the leading voices for that. Also, thanks for coming on short notice too. I was reading again some of Marcel last night. He was quoting you and featuring you, and I thought, boy, I have not talked to Senator Cutrona for a while. Let's do this. So really short notice, and you stepped up, and I appreciate that very much, sir.
Well, I appreciate you having me on the show, and I actually appreciate what you're doing right now, which is educating people about what's really going on in Columbus, because without people like you, I think that people can get kind of tricked by the false media out there. So thank you for what you're doing. And anytime you want me on the show, just give me a holler.
Very nice of you to say, Senator. Thank you much. And I will take you up on that. Be careful what you wish for there. I may be calling you any more than you want.
That's
but
true.
Thank you, sir. All right.
Hey, thank you.
All right, there you go. That's Senator Cutrona. Terrific job. I believe he's one of the leaders, and he is a rising star in Ohio politics, quite frankly, and for some of the reasons you just heard. So really appreciate him coming on. Literally, I was following. In fact, we had that up there. Do we still have that up there? Can we share that? Yeah, right there. This wasn't Al Cutrona's. This was thank you, Al Cutrona from Ohio for Truth.com, who posted that. He is getting recognized by a lot of conservative groups for being, one of the leaders, like I said, in ensuring that our representation is representing us. And what we have demanded is obviously, not negotiable with respect to, photo ID. Look, if we can't get the feds to do it, if we can't get this done on the federal level, I guess I should say, because we have too many Democrats wearing R's next to their names in the Senate, talking about the Save America Act. If we can't do it there nationally, the least we can do is do it here in the state of Ohio. And that includes not just the photo identification thing, but again, citizenship checks as well. And not only for people who are voting in person, but for people who are casting their mail. When I was in Parma, was it Parma? I think it was Parma. Yeah, it was Parma. I was trying to think of some of the Q&A that we had in Parma and last night at the Avon Lake Republican Club. So Wednesday I was in Parma, last night was Avon Lake. And I believe it was somebody in Parma who said, what is the method, though, for requiring or for providing a photo identification for somebody who's mailing in their ballot? And that's a fair question. My answer was, I read something, and I'm going to have to do a little more homework on this, but I read something that does, and maybe Marcel knows, because Marcel is one of the leading proponents of making sure that mail-in votes are also subject to the same photo identification requirement. But there is a process that they are adopting that would make it safe and secure for people to provide their identification when they cast their votes by mail. I just didn't know what it was. I had to admit that. I still don't, and I probably should have looked it up yesterday since we had that conversation on Wednesday. But I'll reach out to Marcel because, again, I think he's the one who said that there is a method. I brought it up at the time on Wednesday in Parma when somebody asked that. I brought up the porn law, the new law in the state of Ohio, that in several states that have enacted that you have to show that you are not a minor to access adult websites, the porn websites. And the complaint at the time of the enacting of that was, how do we prove it? Nobody wants to have to upload or scan their photo identification and send it off to a porn site to show your age. Nobody wants to share it with the internet anywhere, much less to one of those sites, because of identity theft and so many threats that are out there. So there is a legitimate question. How can people provide proof of their age for a situation like that? And how can they provide proof of their voting status, their identification to cast a vote? If they're doing it by mail-in, if they're not showing up in person. And every time I vote in person, which of course is always, it's a law, ID, please. And I got to give them. Sometimes I'll joke around and saying, why are you Jim Crowing me? Because remember, it's Jim Crow 2.0 to require somebody to have an ID to vote. That's what Chuck Schumer and the left say. But there has to be a mechanism. I just don't know what it is yet. And I know they're working on it. And hopefully Marcel might have an answer to that question too at some point, because it is that important. All right. I was mentioning last night, for the second night in a row, my friend who is just, again, so devoted and to the cause, and he's as true America first as anybody is. My friend Mark King showed up last night at Avon Lake as well. And I was so happy to see him there. He saved me a seat for the second night in a row. He was in Parma at my speech to the, and by the way, they weren't identical. I didn't just completely, recycle the speech from the night before. A lot of the themes were the same, but I did some new stuff, new material, if you will. But if you can sit through one of my speeches and hear the same speech again the next night, you're you're devoted, man. And Mark King was, because Mark was there in Parma on Friday night, or on Wednesday night, and he was in Avon last night for the Avon Lake meeting, and I really appreciate his support so much. But Mark was there, and I was so happy to introduce him to some friends as well, and maybe some people who don't know him and who don't know what he does. And what he does is provide Medicare services. He provides consultation and information and education. I should make a rap out of that. He provides all of those things for seniors who are already on Medicare and who are not necessarily in the best plans for them, and they don't even know it yet until they come and sit down with him. And Mark looks at their circumstances, their age, their medical needs, their requirements, and the cost that they're paying, and says, whoa, we can do better than that for you over here. Or another company has a better plan over here. See, Mark represents multiple carriers. Therefore, he's not beholden to just that. This is all that's available to you, just one insurance company's plan. No, doesn't work that way. So people are going to Mark and they're finding out, and people who have not yet been in the Medicare world are finding out before they get in what they need to do to understand it, to make the complex simple, hence keeping America simple. And then they're getting their plans and in good shape from the start. So make sure you call Mark King, would you please? He's a true patriot and he wants to help you. For nearly 40 years, nobody knows Medicare in Northeast Ohio better, as far as what's available than Mark King does. Call that number, 440-832-8936, 440-832-8936 for Mark King. He makes Medicare simple, and I trust him, and you should too. And thanks to Mark as well for showing up at my events. And I've got more. I'm going to be speaking in Seven Hills in a couple of weeks, or maybe a few weeks. I can't remember. I'm going to be speaking in Columbus. Get on the magic bus. Hop on and join us. I'll be speaking in Columbus on the 22nd. Don't forget that extraordinary event down there as we celebrate America 250. We want you on that bus. And if you have not yet figured out how to find that link on my social media pages, simple, send me an email. bob@strictlyspeaking.org, bob@strictlyspeaking.org, and I will send you the link personally to get you on that bus and get you down there for the AFP event on the 22nd. There you go. Thank you, Dylan. bob@strictlyspeaking.org. All right. I mentioned free for all status, and bring your questions to the chat. Anything you want to ask, whatever topic it is, do it. I want to do that, but not until I give you the rest of what I started the show with this morning. I started the show this morning with Austin Metcalf's father, Jeff Metcalf, coming out and being basically human. Because I think it's human to want to say all of the things that he has had to keep bottled up for the last year and a half since he was gagged by the judge. The gag order was issued by the judge. He was not allowed to show up at any of the events and any of the pre-sentence investigation hearings and the arraignment, any of those things, because he, taking up for his son who was murdered by Carmelo Anthony, was pulling no punches in some of those circumstances. So he was the subject of a gag order for the duration of the investigation, the lead up, the trial, the sentence, and so forth. Once the trial was concluded and the sentence was handed down, Austin Metcalf's father, Jeff Metcalf, well, the gag order was lifted and he was ready to go. So I want to play for you not only what I played for you at the start of the show, but the rest of the story, as the saying goes, as Paul Harvey would say it, the rest of Jeff Metcalf's unfiltered rant at everybody associated with the Carmelo family, including his support, the Carmelo Anthony family, his parents, supporters, and so forth. Again, this was so graphic and so good, quite frankly, and so understandable and so relatable. Really relatable on every level, really, that I questioned whether or not it was real. It was so strong and so understandably, relatably angry that I wondered if it was legit and if it was AI. And as I said earlier on, my son confirmed it and found the source video and said, yeah, it is real video. And this is what Jeff Metcalf, the father of Austin Metcalf, the victim of Carmelo Anthony, wanted to say after that gag order was finally lifted. So I give you a short portion of it to start the show, but here's the full Megillah. Watch.
You are grifters. You should be ashamed of yourself. You raised that child. And I swear to God, CPS should come check on those other 3 that you still have. You never once admitted or took accountability. You tried to play victim. The real victim is the one who died, not the one who shoved a knife in his chest. I come to pray with you and show the world we can close the gap of this unbelievable racial divide. And what'd you do? You widen the gap even further. You hire a convicted baby shaking felon who's only in it for the money, who gives you bad advice, kicks me out of a press conference. Oh, funny. I was somewhere I wasn't supposed to be, but I left when asked. I didn't stab anyone. And then you proceeded to gaslight me with your convicted felon, quote, advocate, minister? Minister of what? Minister irrelevant? Minister of bullshit? How about minister fuck you? Y'all think I'm a saint? I'm no saint. I'm as human as you. I have emotions. Just because I'm a Christian doesn't mean I don't sin, because I don't walk on water and I don't turn into wine. Fuck you.
I told you it got a little bit more unhinged. I told you it got a little bit more unfiltered, and you just heard it. I will not cast one iota of judgment on that man. I will not condemn him for his language. I will not condemn him for his feelings, because he's right. He's right to be human. He's right to let his human emotion show. His son was killed. His son was stabbed in the heart by a vicious animal with no regard to human life. He stabbed him so hard in the chest. Did you know this part? That blade pierced the sternum. Okay? The blade went through his chest, his breastbone, the sternum, through the bone and into the heart, and pierced the heart wall. And he laid there and bled out in, I can't even imagine what kind of pain and realization that he was dying that was like. Jeff Metcalf has every right to mother F every single member of that family for defending, supporting, raising funds for, and so forth, the murder of his son. To defend the murderer of his son is to raise funds for the murder of his son. And I think he speaks for every dad and every family member who has ever been victimized by somebody like this. Although there are very few cases quite exactly like this. All right. So I just wanted to share that. And if you can empathize and you can, you got some thoughts that you want to share about what Jeff Metcalf's father said there, or excuse me, Austin Metcalf's father said there, by all means, bring it. All right. So that's most of the meat that I wanted to get to this morning. I want to, like I said, make this a free-for-all type of situation where you can ask me anything, and I will certainly address that. And of course, this is I used to do this on the radio, obviously, but now it's got to be done by way of the chat. So if you are in the live chat right now, you bring up the topic, you bring up the question, and ask me anything, and we will do this free for all Friday type thing. There's only one other thing I would actually get to before I start taking any of those questions as I browse the chat. The one other thing that I wanted to get to, if I could, real quick, is Dylan, pull up number 7. Pull up number 7, because this was also one of the stories that I talked about last night, or one of the issues that I talked about last night in my good versus evil speech in Avon, for the Avon Lake Republicans. One of the elements of evil was that of the main Democrat Senate candidate now, who is one of the new faces of the Democrat Party. And I'm talking about, of course, the despicable Graham Plattner. Do you have 7, Dylan? Can you throw that up there?
All right now.
All right. I'm not seeing it. But yeah, there we go. That's what I want to show you. Okay. So this is, these are screenshots of a text exchange, and this was posted on X by somebody who doesn't use her real name. And so it may mean any number of things. And it's probably going to have to be vetted and verified. But the person who posted this and the person in the screenshot of the text messages says that she was dating loosely, very short time, Graham Plattner, February 2021 to mid-July 2021. She said she was talking to and then consequently seeing him during that period of time. When it was revealed to me that he was cheating on his fiancée at the time with her and that he knew about the effing tattoo. This is a part of the good versus evil thing. Like I said, I talked about it in Parma on Wednesday and last night in Avon, and I want to hit it now. Because it's not like this guy represents the entire Democrat Party until he does. It's the same thing with Mamdani. Mamdani's a communist and an Islamist. About the worst thing somebody can be, other than maybe a communist and a Nazi and an Islamist. He becomes emblematic and representative of the entire Democrat Party when the Democrat Party circles the wagons around him. And that's what was done with Mamdani. And that's what's being done with Graham Plattner. They're endorsing the tattoo chest guy. They're endorsing the I want to rape a man if he comes into my home guy. They're endorsing the that Purple Heart recipient should have been shot. The guy who is texting women while he's married, sexting strange women while he's married. The guy who's on the Kick app, which is for kids. It's a hookup thing for kids 13 to 24. That's who the Democrats, when you rally around that guy, then you make that guy the Democrat Party. And this is what the Democrat Party is. So we're going to look at these one by one. Dylan, I don't know if there's any way to zoom that any more than you have. Is there any way to do that and then kind of zoom it and scroll it a little? There you go. That'll help a little bit. I want people to be able to see this if they want to on their phone screens. It's something as small as their phone screen. So, okay. So this is what she says is part of her text messages with her girlfriend about Graham Plattner. Okay, so she said, this is again was this last year that the text messages happened? No, this was in 2021, I believe. Okay, I'm just trying to make sure I have the timeline. So her girlfriend says, is this Graham Planter the dude from Maine? Obviously, it should have said Plattner, but Planter. And she says, yeah, LMAO, laughing her A off. Yup, seeing his stuff on social media. You were right. He's kind of hot. Too bad he was a douche. Yeah, dude. Small D. Okay, I'm just reading this. I'm not going to say every word, even though we're unfiltered. Small D. Makes weird noises. Nazi tattoo. Was effing around on his fiancée. Good riddance. The friend says, all fixable except cheater. And the person writing it who was seeing him said, I don't know, man. I think there is a lot of that isn't fixable, with laughy faces. And the friend says, oh yeah, forgot about the tattoo. The next conversation starts with a picture of Graham Plattner in his Senate campaign. Mainers first, Maine always. And the person wrote, the girl wrote LMAO, which is laughing my A off. And the friend says, right? No effing way. Yes, effing way, LOL. He's got a decent platform. And the friend says, better not take a peek, or I'm sorry, she says, better not take a peek at the Nazi tattoo on his chest. And the friend said, hard knowing what we know, though. And then, girl, I forgot about just, I'm assuming that's supposed to be just the tattoo. I forgot about that. And she, again, referred to it as a Nazi tattoo. How would she know it's a Nazi tattoo, but not him? Moving on to the third screenshot. I called Graham last night because no one that I know has jumper cables, and the boys are out of town, and I ran my battery out listening to my music or listening to music and smoking in my car. Okay, so she called Graham because it's the only one she knew that had jumper cables. She's done with him at this point, but she called him. Okay, so this is again July 2021. And then to the last one. Dude, and that's indecipherable. 4 people reached out to me at like 7:30 in the morning and were like, look who it is, Mr. Oyster Man. It's crazy. I also know he has a very unfortunate tattoo, and he never gave me back my pie dish, so I'm considering selling him out. Now, that last part, now this is from 2025, so that last part is a reference to, hey, remember back in 2021 when I told you about this douche that I was seeing for a little while with the Nazi tattoo? Okay, look at this. Look who it is. It's Mr. Oyster Man. He's running for Senate. And then again, it's crazy because I know he has a very unfortunate tattoo and I'm considering selling him out. All right. Now that part of this needs to be addressed because when you look beyond the screenshots and you look in the comments, you will see the girl who, saved those screenshots and then shared them and posted them about Graham Plattner, trying to get out in front of the obvious attacks that she's going to get, that she's lying on him, she's lying about him, or she's just angry because he dissed her. He stole my pie dish, so she's willing to ruin his career over that. She's answering it before the questions are even raised. Quote, I think you'll find that contrary to the current spin of his campaign, I am not, in fact, a Republican operative hell-bent on destroying his campaign, but instead am and have always been very much on the left side of the political spectrum. I will write a full statement about my story and what I think his candidacy means for progressive politics, because despite my joke about being a spurned lover with a stolen pie dish, I never tried to out him, but instead watched him lie to the people of Maine and our country. Again, why does any of this matter? Well, for obvious reasons. Like I said, this is what the Democrat Party has circled itself around. And then one person says, am I reading this right, that you dated a guy with a Nazi tattoo on his chest? Effing Nazis is like the singular way to be stripped of being allowed to call yourself a leftist. Grow a spine. Unless I'm misreading. So this is a radical leftist who said you should never have been involved with a Nazi in the first place. And she responded, I didn't know about the tattoo until we had already been dating for a hot minute. Additionally, he gave me a sob story about it that seemed genuine. I'm writing a statement that I'll post. I am looking forward to that statement. I don't know when or where we're going to see said statement. And thanks, Dylan, for sharing that. I don't know when we're going to see it, but I want to see specifically. But she said it was a Nazi tattoo, and the chances are she didn't look at a tattoo and identify it herself as being a Nazi tattoo. She's probably asking him, what's that mean? And other girls in the New York Times expose on this piece of trash, other girls or women have said that he bragged about it and said, that's my Totenkopf. And a Totenkopf tattoo is it's called a death's head tattoo. It's a death's head symbol for the concentration camp guards who worked in Nazi Germany during the Holocaust. He brags about his Totenkopf. He told her what it was. So she was telling her friend, yeah, he's got a Nazi tattoo. And then he claims that he didn't realize it was a Nazi tattoo until 18 years later after getting it when he's running for the Senate. And suddenly somebody said, hey, that's a Nazi. It is? It's a Nazi tattoo? I didn't know that. Wow, I better cover that up because I certainly am not a Nazi. He bragged about his Nazification literally for 18 years. And he's the new face of the Democrat Party. He, along with people like James Tallarico. There it is. Thanks, Dylan. Look at that close-up. You can put it up there for, yeah. Look at that. That's what we're talking about. He had no idea what it was. He got drunk. He said 18 years before with a bunch of his other Marine friends, and they were, I don't know, in some country, and they all got drunk and decided to get tattoos. And so he woke up the next day with a tattoo and looked at that and was like, oh, wow. But didn't wonder, what is it? What did I get while I was drunk? What does that mean? That's a weird symbol. That's interesting. What is that? Not once did he wonder that the next day when he woke up with his tattoo after being drunk. He didn't wonder the day after that. He didn't wonder the day after that. By the way, after 18 years, look how good that looks. That means he cared for it. That means he smeared the tattoo butter or whatever, or Vaseline or something over it to make sure that it, that it didn't dry out or crack or whatever. He took care of it, but never once wondered what it was. A year after the fact, oh yeah, I remember getting that. When is that thing anyway? Never occurred. Never one. We're supposed to believe that for 18 years he never wondered what it was, asked anybody, or anybody else, since he's a Marine and a supposed student of military history. He should have recognized it himself, but other Marines wouldn't have said, bro, you got a Nazi tat? That's a Totenkopf? No one told him, and he never asked for 18 years, and we're supposed to believe that. And again, it doesn't matter what you or I believe, because we're not voting in Maine, and we're not Democrats. But the Democrats know, and the Democrats in Maine are going to try to put him in the Senate to represent not just Maine, but as a senator, represent you and me. I'm done looking at it, Dylan. Thanks. And so it does matter to us. And that's who the Democrats have circled the wagons around. This is a guy that they believe belongs in one of the 100 most powerful seats in government outside of the presidency, and the vice presidency. The Senate, the 100 seats in the Senate are the most power in the country. And he deserves one of them. An actual Nazi promoter, supporter, sympathizer, or just plain old Nazi. And the Democrats are, and this is why, again, we talk about the good versus evil. Okay, let's see what's going on in the chat. I literally want to do free for all for the last 15, 16, 17 minutes here. Whatever questions you have, I will answer. Ask me anything and we will talk about it. Let's see. I'm looking at comments here mostly now. First, Cutrona is my state senator. Great to hear what he is saying. You should be happy about that, Ernie. He's a very good man. Jimbo says, I can see an end to the Kasich era finally. Hope so. Roz says, Ernie, make him answer for voting in favor of the removal of parental rights. I don't know what that means, Roz, but you have my attention. Ask me. It's something I will ask him next time we have an opportunity to chat. Darms says, or asks, Bob, do you think the state level Republicans are trying to demoralize the populist voter base? All right, now we're into some free-for-all. Do I think the state level Republicans are trying to demoralize the popular voter base? That's a really hard question to answer. I will tell you that I think a lot of state Republicans are trying to dismiss and ignore, the populist voter base, the Trump base, quite frankly. I think a lot of them are trying to defy what the people of Ohio gave them the power to do. What the people of Ohio, what we as Republicans gave them with all of their statewide offices swept by Republicans, not to mention the supermajority in the legislative districts, what we gave them the power to do is what they are doing in Florida. And it's what they are doing in other red states, Tennessee. And that is passing unstoppable conservative legislation for parental rights, protecting our kids, our gun rights, our voter integrity, all of the things that they're doing in red states, and Democrats are fuming about it. But they are passing everything that we should be passing here because they've got a governor they know will sign. And in fact, a governor who's pushing and prodding and cajoling the legislators to get this stuff to his desk so they can sign it. Extraordinarily popular conservative legislation. And I'm talking about Florida, mostly with Ron DeSantis. And we here, I believe, have the same type of numbers where we could be doing the same thing. But A, we have Mike DeWine waiting with the pen or the veto stamp instead of somebody like Ron DeSantis. And B, some of the Republicans we're electing don't want to do those things. That's my answer to your question about, are they trying to demoralize, the true populist Trump voting base, yeah, maybe if you want to call it demoralize, but I think they're definitely trying to ignore that which we put them into office to do, to accomplish. And I think, quite frankly, and I'm going to, some people don't want to hear things like this because we're supposed to rally, we're supposed to unite, and I am a uniter. But I think we got a problem in the Speaker's office. I think the man holding the gavel is not upholding the will of the people of Ohio who gave him the power to do some of the things that I just described that are being done in other states. Matt Huffman was supposed to be the step up from Blue 22 choice, Jason Stevens, who was the speaker before. But Matt Huffman came in from being the Senate president to being the speaker in the House and is, quite frankly, ignoring, again, the will of the people and a lot of the important legislation that we have voted for, especially in the wake of COVID. Medical freedom bills that are going to pass, right to choose, right to try. All of these very important pieces of legislation that are sitting in Senate committees that he is urging or encouraging or maybe threatening the chairs of these committees that he gave those titles to not let them come out of the committee for a vote. And they don't want to be stripped of their chairs. They don't want to be stripped of their committees, so they're willing to fall in line behind him. So, can we say broadly that state level Republicans are trying to demoralize the populist voter base? I can say that at least two amendments to that. One is, like I said, to demoralize, or to ignore. And maybe that does demoralize you if you feel like your wishes that you sent them to Columbus to do are not being done. Maybe you do get demoralized, but that's number one. And number two, I wouldn't say all state level Republicans, but some of the leaders do. That's why Marcel and I were chatting about this, that I think we have a lot to look forward to after November. If we have a governor like Vivek Ramaswamy and we can find a way to replace the speaker with somebody who's willing to listen and do what the people of Ohio want him to do, we can alleviate that demoralization that you're talking about. Thank you for the question, though. Let's see what else we have. I'm Black. I'm a Black American, and I understand his anger. It's very justified. I hate what Black culture has become. Darms, oh, that's the same person who just asked that question. Thank you, Darms. And thank you for being the fact that you're here listening to a conservative podcast tells us all we need to know about you, Black or white. Quite frankly, I don't care what color you are. I don't want to identify you by your color, just like I don't want you to identify me by mine. But what you just said needed to be said by a Black person. And so I will say thank you for that. Does that make sense? We believe in the colorblind society. Everybody's equal opportunities, equal treatment, all equal under the law. We don't want to divide people and identify them by their color. But some things a Black man has to say that a white man cannot say. A white man says Black culture has become a problem, and I hate what it is or what it has become. White man says that you might as well fit him for his pointy white hat. Right? You might as well start the Nazi tattoo on his chest. The white man says that. Black man says, I don't like what Black culture has become. That Black activists are out there calling for the death of Austin Metcalf's family as they grieve for the death of Austin Metcalf himself. That Black culture is leading to random beatings of white people. White person complains about that Black culture, we're racist. Black person says that, ears prick up. You'll still be subjected to Uncle Toms and all kinds of other, slurs and attacks on your character and call you a race traitor and all of these other kind of things. But you are still in a much better position to make those statements than I am or that we are. So thank you, Darms. I hope I'm saying your handle correctly, because it does matter. It shouldn't matter, but it does. How about that? That's a fair way to say it. It should not matter what color any of us are, But when it comes to critiquing race relations and situations, it does matter. So thank you for that. I feel the dad's pain. It is evident in his response. No question about it. 41. Oh, yeah, that's about the likes. Thank you, Roz. Oh, by the way, speaking of Roz, I want to thank you for pushing the likes. Make sure you hit the thumbs up button, everybody, and make sure that you hit the notification button as well. That's the bell. And make sure you subscribe. And most importantly, make sure you copy the URL for the channel and send it off to other people who don't know we're here. How about that? So that'll do even much better than the thumbs up. But thank you for the thumbs up reminder, Roz. But seriously, send the channel to other conservatives on your email list or on your phone list, your phone texting contacts. Send them to them and say, hey, this is a place to be, and get in the chat and we have a good time and we learn a lot and so forth. But Roz, memo to you. Sherry Sherbank on the chat told me on Wednesday night in Parma that you were interested in joining our bus ride to Columbus on Monday the 21st, or 22nd, beg your pardon, Monday the 22nd, as we go down there to celebrate America 250 and to take one small step toward the next 250. But you were asking about or inquiring about the availability of people with walkers. Will they have accommodations or accessibility to the bus and to this trip? I asked our friends at AFP Donovan, and he said, register. We will figure it out. Whatever we got to do, we'll figure it out, and we'll find a way to accommodate. So you want to be on that bus, Roz, put your name on the list and register for that spot, and we will make it happen for you, okay? Which, of course, is exactly what I would have expected. We will figure out a way to get you there. If you want to be there, we'll figure it out. Okay, so thank you for that, Roz. Bob, I want to know why Kelly Williams Bowler was worthy of any support. You're going to find out if you come to that event, Lisa. Is it Lisa? Yeah, it's Lisa. You're going to find out if you come to that event. And you know what? I'm going to have her on. I will have her on to tell her story in full and talk about what she did and how she tried to get her kids into a better school, even if she had to break a law to do it. Because what it does is it underscores the need for school choice, legal school choice in this state. We have got to make sure that things like the backpack bill are followed fully, and that every dollar does not go to a school district. It goes to the kid. And if that kid goes from a failing school to a better school, that's the way it's supposed to be. Her story is a very, very interesting story, and she's going to tell it, obviously, when she speaks on Monday as well, where I will be. But I'll bring her on before that. Dylan, take a note for me if you could, and send me a reminder to reach out to Kelly Williams Bowler and get her on this podcast next week before we go down to Columbus, and she is a part of that event as well. I will absolutely present her story, or let her present it herself. What does CAD say? I want to know why Tom Z is pushing data centers and telling us we have been propagandized by the CCP if we don't want them in our backyards. Okay. This is what free for all really looks like. I talked about this to the Parma GOP, and I talked about it less to the Avon Lake Club last night. But I'll talk about it briefly here. There is a split right down the middle of the conservative movement in the state of Ohio. Quite frankly, there's a split right down the middle in the conservative movement of the country. Patriots like Tom Z, whose judgment I would never question, believe that if we don't allow the data centers to be built and allow us to not only keep up with, but win the AI and cloud computing war that is going on with China right now, that we will pay a very, very heavy price in the future, because AI is going to be very, very powerful. And if we don't allow ourselves, this country, and this is a very, very loose paraphrase, to build what needs to be built to advance on that front and win that AI war, China will have a very distinct advantage over us, not just economically, but militarily. And Tom has a lot of supporters who agree and feel the exact same way. Then there are other people, like so many of my friends in the Strongsville GOP Signal chat, people like Jonathan Broadbent, who is one of my favorite people and one of the smartest people that I know in the conservative movement, who is completely and wholly against these things because of the intrusion on neighborhoods, the taking up of farmland, the soaking up of resources, the sucking up of energy. We're going to have to harden the grid before we can ever even think about providing as much power as those data centers are going to need. That there are harmful effects that some have reported from living near the data centers that exist already. And so there are people literally on both sides of the conservative spectrum that I love and support. And I'll listen to this guy and say, I'm with you, I agree. Then I'll hear the other side and say, no, I agree with you. And back and forth we go. And I don't know where to land on that. I think probably a compromise is going to have to be in order. There are going to have to be sites that are not going to be negatively impactful of our resources, taking up our farmland, not in the backyards and up against and abutting the neighborhoods of people who have lived in their homes for years and now have this giant, loud, energy sucking, building just a few feet away from them. We're going to have some guardrails. One thing I think we can all agree on as it pertains to the data centers is that the tax abatements, the tax breaks for the multi-billion or trillion-dollar companies that are going to profit from them, that are going to primarily use them, those have to go. No more tax breaks for any of the companies that are building and using and benefiting from these data centers. None. In fact, make them pay more. Depending on where they want to put them, make them pay more. Why should Meta or Google or OpenAI or any of the other massive companies get tax abatements or even or not face actually significant surcharges in their taxes for what they want to build? Because they're multi-trillion-dollar companies. They can afford it. So I would say there's a middle ground, guardrails with respect to data centers being built, and no tax breaks, and in fact, higher fees for them to benefit the communities that they're going to put these data centers in. That's probably the way to go. And you know what I'm probably going to have to do? I'm going to have to invite Tom Zawistowski back to our program, and I'm going to invite Jonathan Broadbent or some other representatives of those who are opposed to the data centers fully, and we're going to have a forum. Hell, on this platform, I can fit up to 10 people at one time. I might have to just have a big, panel showdown of the supporters of the data centers versus the opponents of them and get to the bottom of it all in an upcoming episode. I'll make a plan for that. Probably not something I can do in a week's time like next week, but maybe something we can talk about for the first week of July. But I will do that. Dylan, make a note of that too, if you would, for me. Just kind of send me that, because I want to make sure that those questions are answered and that debate is had. That's what has to happen. Great question. Charlie says, my wife turned and looked at me and said during the Avon GOP meeting, why does Bob hate June so much? You made me say the word. It's the month of blah. I told you. I flipped my calendar twice. On May 31st, when I flipped my calendar over from May to the next month, I should say from one month to the next month. When it comes to the month of, I flip it over. And I told everybody else to do that on my newsletter on the Sunday briefing, because they have bastardized the month of blah. They have taken it and turned it into something disgusting. And until the whole country recognizes it as what Tennessee and Indiana recognize it as, natural nuclear family month, as opposed to month, then I'm going to pretend it doesn't exist. Sorry, but I'm not going to play that game. Let's see. What else do we have? Ask me anything. How many in the unit got the same tattoo? That's a really good question. I don't know. Ground ops? I don't know. What else do we have here? I'm looking for questions, although some comments are good. Big Jake says his representation of the death head tat offends me. My dad was U.S. Navy in World War II and never had a tat. He spent time in Brooklyn before shipping out. He believed a tat was an offense against God and body. Okay. And your dad is certainly welcome to that characterization of tattoos overall. But the first part of your comment there, Big Jake, is the most important part. The idea, that his representation of the death head tat offends me. He basically said that I don't know what it was, but it was badass, and we Marines get tats. That's what we do. Marines get tats, and we get liquored up sometimes. We'll get tattoos, and that's what we did. And it looked like a skull and crossbones, so it looked like it was tough, and that's what I did. I call BS on that representation. BS. Because somebody would have told him the next day, the day after, the week after, the month after, or in any one of the 18 years that he had that thing, that it was a Nazi tat. He knew exactly what he was doing. Don't buy his line of BS. The mechanic says the Chinese want to rule AI. What better way to do that than to pit Americans against it? This is what Tom is saying. This is what a lot of people are saying. And I understand that point of view. 100% I do. Like I said, it is a battle. And that's why we're going to have the, people pro and con come together and fight this fight here on this program. Looking forward to that. I'm totally against the databases, says Dharma. They are the infrastructure for China's mass surveillance and social credit system. Then there's that argument of it. It's a damn good point. Sherbank likes it. Sherry says that would be good. Yes, it would, to have that debate, and I will do it. Jimbo says same thing. Panel show would be good. Let's see. Well, if you forget to show up somewhere in the month of blah, we will know why. Thank you, Sherry. And by the way, thank you, Sherry, for passing on that question for Roz and for the bus. Don't forget about Too Much, the Magic Bus. Don't forget, register for your spot on it now. Again, we're going to be leaving Strong. It's not an all-day event. It's leaving Strongsville, 3 o'clock. We're going to do a live show that morning. Leave Strongsville 3 o'clock on Monday the 22nd. In Columbus by 5. The event from 5 to 8. We're back in Strongsville by 10:30 at the latest, and everything is good. We want you to be there. It's going to be a fantastic time celebrating America and celebrating 250. And again, talking about what one small step we will make next. All right, things to do as we head out. And thank you so much for being here. Dylan, you can go ahead and fire it up if you wish, that vibe music. But things to do. If you didn't hit the thumbs up yet, hit it. If you didn't hit the bell yet, hit it. If you didn't hit the join button for the Locals community, hit it. And if you have not yet subscribed to the weekly briefing, my Sunday morning briefing, which is called Strictly Speaking This Week, subscribe to it. There's the link right there. Scan that with your phone. If you're watching on a computer screen, TV screen, iPad screen, any of those kind of things, and you've got a device, scan that QR code and sign up. Just put your email address in. I will not sell your email address to anybody else. I will not give it to anybody else. It is solely for the purposes of receiving, Strictly Speaking This Week, our Sunday briefing. All right? It'll be free and it'll be yours, and you should subscribe to it and share that with somebody else too. Once you get that subscriber link, share that with somebody else again on your channels. Not your channels. What am I trying to say? Your contact lists online and on by phone. All right, everybody. Really, really big week. A lot of important stuff got done. We covered a lot of really important ground. I'm looking forward to finding out what President Trump comes up with respect to this deal. You want to get Sunday morning's briefing, make sure you sign up for that. That'll be the next time you hear from me. We'll be Sunday morning with the newsletter. And then, of course, we're back again Monday morning with everything you need to know for the week to come. Thanks, everybody. Be well, be safe. Thanks, by the way, to not representative. He used to be a state representative, now State Senator Al Cutrona. Really appreciative of that conversation as well. And now, have a great weekend. Bye-bye.